Hello and welcome. My name is Carissa Winkle. I'm a family and community wellness agent for the Cottonwood Extension District in K-State Research and Extension. And today we're going to be talking about nourishing the brain and recommendations for combating neurodegenerative diseases. So today we're going to focus on three main parts. So first we're going to understand what neurodegenerative diseases are, brain anatomy and functions. And next, we're going to talk about foods that aid in cognitive function, also known as the MIND diet. And then finally, we're going to talk about mealtime strategies to help people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. So first, let's talk about what neurodegenerative diseases are. They are a group of diseases characterized by progressive degeneration and abnormal function of the neurons in the brain or spinal cord. These diseases change neurons and can result in reduced cognitive capacity, movement control, and other brain functions. So the brain is the powerhouse of the entire body. Without the brain, we can't do anything. And we perform tasks and functions every day. We don't think about it. We don't tell ourselves to do it, like breathing or balance, movement control, all those things we're very fortunate to have. Other activities like bathing, showering, and dressing, toileting, and eating are also controlled by the brain. And when we have a neurodegenerative disease, all of these can be affected. So, some examples most of us are familiar with include Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. So, next we're going to talk a little bit more about the brain and understand the brain anatomy and its main functions. So, this is the time we get to have our little biology lesson. So the brain has three main parts. The cerebrum is the biggest part of the brain. It controls movement, temperature, speech, thinking, reasoning, emotions, and learning. So there's quite a bit to that. And it's the largest part, so that makes sense. The next part we have is the brainstem, and this part connects the cerebrum to the spinal cord at the base of the skull and controls activities like swallowing, breathing, and blood pressure. So the brainstem is a very important part as it connects the entire brain to the rest of the body. And finally, we have the cerebellum. This is the small part at the back of the head that is responsible for muscle movements, balance, posture, and coordination. So, as people get older, the brain changes, and some of the activities that they used to do before might become challenging. Good nutrition can help provide essential nutrients that the brain needs to continue to properly function. The brain weighs about 3 pounds, um, just the brain itself. So 60% of it is fat, and the rest of it is 40% water, protein, carbohydrates, and salts. So fat is the main part of the brain. Connections, this is another big part. So neurons send and receive messages. So we rely on these neurons for every bodily function, including seeing, touching, smelling, tasting, and hearing. They play a crucial role in how you move, breathe, think, and more. So just like the brain itself, those neurons and those communicators inside the brain are just as important for everyday tasks and movements and thinking, touching, smelling, tasting, because if we're going to get anything done, the whole brain has to work together. So one side of the brain has to communicate with the other side of the brain in order to make something happen. So, like what we talked about in a few slides ago, neurodegenerative diseases are characterized by the degeneration of neurons. So neurons play a crucial role in our brain health as well. Inflammation is a normal process in the body. So many times we hear the word inflammation and it's a bad word because chronic inflammation can be very harmful on the body. But inflammation is normal. So say, for example, illness or an injury causes inflammation, right? It is a good, normal part of the body in the healing response. But when it becomes dangerous is when chronic inflammation happens. So this is extended inflammation over a period of time in which there's excessive swelling and the body can't function like normally. So, for example, say you run into a wall, you hit your elbow really hard and it swells up. It's painful, it's red, you can't really extend it as far, you can't use your arm as much. Um, that's a normal part of the healing process. But do you think you're going to be able to use your arm as much if, say, the elbow is swollen for 2 to 3 weeks? No, it's going to become a major problem for you. So, same thing for the brain. So, inflammation is a normal part of the body's response to injury or infection. It's an immune response to fight off infection or heal damaged tissue. Too many harmful molecules around the brain and neurons can increase inflammation and in the long term might damage neurons and increase the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. So, inflammation can also happen in the brain and it can also cause problems in the future and when inflammation is happening. So, harmful molecules can come from the foods we eat and the lifestyles we have. Um, but luckily, we have this thing around our brain called the blood-brain barrier, and it's a highly selective barrier around the brain that protects the brain from harmful molecules that might cause inflammation. So, if you think about it, what might be something that we can do to help improve our blood-brain barrier and protect the brain? One of the things may be nutrition. So, the better the nutrition we provide our bodies, the better equipped they are to protect us from inflammation and support the proper functioning of the blood-brain barrier. So, what we want to do is nourish our bodies and our brains to be able to fight inflammation and prevent neurodegenerative diseases. So, what we're going to talk about next is nutrition. So, you can think about this some. How does nutrition relate to brain health? And what foods aid the brain? If you think about it, does something specific come to mind when a specific food is brought up? Does anything, a brain boosting food, a super house, um, anything come to mind? I'll let you think about that for a minute as well. So, you may have thought about omega-3 fatty acids, so like salmon, olive oil, fish, right? That's the first thing I think of when I think of brain healthy foods. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. So, omega-3 fatty acids, these are unsaturated fats that can reduce brain inflammation, support new brain cells, and help the neurons communicate better with the rest of the body. So, sources include fish, so like salmon, tuna, seafood, nuts and seeds. Walnuts are an amazing source of omega-3 fatty acids, along with hazelnuts and cashews. Plant oils like olive oil, for example, and avocados are another great source. Fortified foods as well. So, like we talked about earlier, going back to our brain anatomy, the brain is 60% fat. So, if we are supplying our brain with healthy sources of fat, that's going to make a big difference in how our brain functions. Since our brain is mostly fat, think about it. If we're putting good fat into our brain, into our bodies, that's going to make a difference for how our brain functions. Next, we have B vitamins, especially folate. This shows evidence of reducing the risk of dementia and slowing cognitive decline. So, if you have ever had a child or been pregnant, you know that folate is extremely important to have when you're pregnant. And this is because folate is very important in the development of the brain and the spinal cord and column. So, just like at the beginning stages of life, folate is important throughout the entire lifespan for the brain. So, it can help reduce the risk of dementia and slow cognitive decline. So, sources of B vitamins include whole grains. So, this would be your brown rice, your whole wheat bread, legumes, nuts, leafy green vegetables, and eggs. Um, these are all great examples of foods that have B vitamins. And if you're not sure how much of a B vitamin or of anything is in a certain product, remember to read the nutrition label and it will give you a good idea of how much of what is in each food. So we've talked a little bit about these. So specifically, we're going to talk more about vitamin D. The lack of vitamin D can cause memory issues and increase the risk of dementia. So vitamin D works really well with um, other minerals such as calcium in the body. And this also works in the brain as well to help your brain out. So lack of vitamin D can cause memory issues and increase the risk of dementia. So like we talked about before, salmon, tuna, sardines, these are really important for brain health because they have omega-3 in them, but they also have vitamin D. So double whammy, you're getting two nutrients in one food, which is great. And fortified foods as well. So, a lot of times, if you think about vitamin D fortified foods, you're going to think of milk because milk is often fortified with vitamin D. So, vitamin D milk can also help. We're going to go back there for a minute. The sunshine vitamin is also known as vitamin D because you need 5 to 30 minutes of sunshine in order for your body to produce vitamin D. So, vitamin D can come from our foods and what we eat, but it can also be produced by the body. And when you get enough sunshine, we can get vitamin D from the sun and our bodies can produce it. So, if you get direct sunlight on your face or on your skin, this allows for your body to produce vitamin D and to utilize it in your body. So, some more foods that aid the brain. Next, we're going to talk about herbs, spices, and antioxidants. So, turmeric. This has curcumin in it that can protect the brain against inflammation. As you can see, turmeric has that bright, deep red, orangish color. Um, and that is a good sign of antioxidants. So, curcumin is an antioxidant that can help to reduce inflammation throughout the entire body, including the brain. So, there are only small amounts of curcumin in turmeric. So, if you just start drinking turmeric tea or whatever it may be, you're not going to solve all your problems, but it's something that can benefit you and aid you if you include it along with other lifestyle changes. Next are herbs and spices. So herbs and spices have a lot of anti-inflammatory properties as well. So cloves, dried peppermint, rosemary, basil, cumin, are some other examples. So, thinking about cooking with a lot of herbs and spices and reducing sodium is a really good idea when you want to improve brain health. So, sodium um, makes us more, what's the word I'm looking for? Makes us more dehydrated, and that's harmful on the brain. And it also increases our blood pressure, which is hard on the heart. And if you've ever heard that a heart healthy diet is a brain healthy diet, that is correct. So anything that's good for your heart is going to be beneficial for the brain as well. So including lower amounts of sodium and cooking with more herbs and spices can make a huge difference as well in your heart health and brain health. And finally, antioxidants. So you've heard probably of blueberries, blackberries, Your dark leafy vegetables are full of antioxidants. And this is true. It's found in colorful produce, so colorful fruits and vegetables, tea, spices, and olive oil. This helps to keep the brain healthy. So antioxidants help to reduce inflammation, and that helps the brain stay healthy. So instead of having a long list of foods that are antioxidants, I just like to think about the color of the food. So if it's a dark, rich, vibrant color, it probably means that it has a good source of antioxidants in it. So this applies to fresh foods, not your packaged foods. So any fruit or vegetable that has a dark, vibrant color is going to be full of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. So, we've talked about several specific foods that can help the brain, but overall, this eating plan is a plan focusing on plenty of fruits and vegetables, moderate amounts of protein, and low amounts of saturated fat and sugar is best for optimizing brain health. This is known as the mind diet. So, we talked about why fruits and vegetables are important because there's lots of minerals and vitamins, um, folate, vitamin D, all those things are very important. Um, Also, low amounts of saturated fat is important. So our unsaturated fat is very important, but we want to reduce saturated fat. So that can be a little bit confusing. Our saturated fat often comes from animal sources, and it's often a solid at room temperature. So these are the types of fats that increase our LDL, um, so our bad cholesterol, and are harmful to our heart. So we want to increase the good types of fats, which would be our unsaturated fats, um, which improve our cholesterol, um, and is good for our heart. We also want to limit the amount of sugar for brain health as well. We didn't touch on that much before, but sugar, a large amounts of sugar can be detrimental. It can expose us and increase our risk for diabetes as well. So the mind diet. Just like we talked about, these are foods that focus on in association with increased brain health. So, green leafy vegetables, they contain folate, vitamin K, vitamin C, and other antioxidants that may aid memory preservation and prevent cognitive decline. Nuts are a great source of unsaturated fat, so your omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, magnesium, and zinc. These nutrients support mood, protect the brain cells, and regulate blood pressure. Berries are also rich in antioxidants because they have the deep color and they support cognitive functions like memory and learning. Next, we have beans. Beans are a great source of B vitamins and folate that support blood sugar levels and can provide a steady supply of energy to the brain. Fish are also rich in vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids that can help reduce brain inflammation and support brain cell growth. Poultry, so your chicken, turkey, those types of foods are a great source of iron, zinc, and protein, which are used when the brain communicates with the body. Zinc might also reduce depressive symptoms as well. And then we have olive oil, which is also an omega-3 fatty acid, and it helps to prevent overall brain health and fight oxidative stress and improve blood flow to the brain. So this is a really important component of that blood-brain barrier. So now that we've talked about different foods specifically that aid the brain in the mind diet, we're going to talk about mealtime strategies that help people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. So, Alzheimer's disease. So, 5.8 million people have Alzheimer's disease, and 13 million by 2050 is predicted. So, this statistic is increasing at a very fast rate. Um, but we do know people who have Alzheimer's disease, and many times they're loved ones, and many times we are caregivers for these people. So we want to do what we can to help them. And nutrition is still a very important factor, even if someone already has Alzheimer's disease. So, our main goal with Alzheimer's disease through nutrition is to stay healthy and avoid unintentional weight loss. So, with Alzheimer's disease, sometimes a person may forget to eat or they may not have a sense of an appetite as much as they used to. Um, the type of foods we want to help a person with Alzheimer's disease consume would be a mix of foods. So, we want to keep that balance. We want those antioxidants and those vitamins. We want vegetables, fruits, whole grain, lean meats, low fat dairy, and these are the best to help support cognitive capacity. We understand that this may not be the easiest thing to do to get all those foods in every single day because if a person doesn't have as good of an appetite, it may be harder for them to eat specific foods. So it may be easier just to give them something that actually sounds good to them, and that's okay. So finding that balance and not being too hard on yourself in order to get someone the food that they need. Also, hydration is another very important part of Alzheimer's disease. So, dehydration can make the brain shrink and affect memory. It can also increase confusion and cause urinary tract infections. So, if a person is dehydrated for a long amount of time, it can cause the brain to shrink, confusion, and a UTI. So, UTIs also cause a lot of confusion and can make Alzheimer's um, symptoms worse. So, some key ways to um, encourage hydration would be to offer small cups of water and foods. Like soup is a great source of water, so having soup for lunch or dinner, and having plenty of fruits and vegetables can also increase water consumption. Nutritionally balanced milkshakes can also be helpful. They have good amount of protein in them and vitamins and minerals as well. Smoothies can also be a great alternative to a meal for someone with Alzheimer's. It can be easier to drink and it may taste better to them. And this can also help in avoiding dehydration. Another way is to just offer sips of water. Use a straw for this person throughout the day. It's much easier to drink through a straw than to drink through a cup, oftentimes with Alzheimer's. Um, and using water enhancers, whether it be infusing your water with fruit or lemon or a drink enhancer, can also help. And mealtime. So people with Alzheimer's might forget or refuse to eat because they can't recognize food. Their sense of smell and taste has changed, or sometimes like it's outside things, like your dentures don't fit. Certain medications can also reduce appetite as well. So there can be a lot of different reasons why people with Alzheimer's disease may not have an appetite or may not want to eat. So, some mealtime strategies to try out. Um, Focus on making meal times calm and simple by avoiding patterned plates, placemats, or tablecloths. So, making it an environment that is calming and relaxing and not overstimulating can help them focus on their meal and what's in front of them. Also, serving one food item at a time can also reduce the stress of having so much going on. So, one food at a time, you can see if they're interested in that food pretty easily this way. See if that's something that sounds good. If it doesn't, you can move on to the next food. That can help them stay focused on their meal. And also being flexible with what they like to eat can help a person with Alzheimer's disease eat more. So, encouraging them to eat and providing them foods with what they actually like to eat is really important. So, like I said before, finding that balance with foods that they enjoy eating and foods that they need can be really helpful. Also, say a person really likes pizza, giving a person pizza or finding different alternatives to pizza can be helpful. So, making a pizza sandwich. I don't know. Something getting creative with it can also be helpful. During meals, using colored plates that contrast with the food. So making it easier to see and making it easier to pick up on can be helpful. Also, checking the temperature of the food. If a food is too hot, that's going to be dangerous. Also, if a food is too cold, that may not be very appealing either. So that's something to keep in mind. And also giving a person with Alzheimer's plenty of time to eat, not rushing them. They may not seem super interested right away, but not giving up on that, letting them sit there, and they may eventually eat. So being patient with them at mealtime is very important as well. Eating together and making meals social can also improve mealtime. When a person sees someone else doing something, they are more likely to partake in that same activity. So eating with them is also really important. Next, we're going to move on to Parkinson's disease and mealtime strategies. So, with Parkinson's disease, symptoms tend to get worse over time and can affect walking, talking, swallowing, and mood. So, a person's range of motion is highly affected by Parkinson's disease. Um, it might help symptoms, slow the disease progression, and improve quality of life by eating a balanced eating plan. So just like Alzheimer's disease, what you eat can increase the quality of life for a person with Parkinson's disease. And they found that omega-3 fatty acids can make a big difference in Parkinson's disease. So nuts like walnuts and pistachios, macadamia nuts can help keep the brain healthy. Other omega-3 sources include olive oil and avocados. These are great sources of omega-3 fatty acids that can support the brain. And again, antioxidants are also important. So we talked about this before too. Turmeric, cinnamon, blueberries, raspberries, dark leafy greens. So any produce item that is very dark in color and has a deep, vibrant, rich color is probably going to have quite a bit of antioxidants. So those are also very helpful in reducing oxidative stress and supporting that blood-brain barrier to reduce inflammation. So fiber-rich foods with plenty of fluids can assist in managing Parkinson's disease symptoms, so such as constipation. So as you know, Parkinson's disease can affect the muscles and that includes digestive muscles too. So fiber-rich foods can also help with digestive muscles as well. Fatigue and sleep. So reducing sugary snacks and having more protein and healthy fats can ease these issues. So this goes for if someone without a neurodegenerative disease as well. So reducing sugary snacks and having more protein will help your body to reduce fatigue and help a person sleep better at night. So can reduce napping throughout the day and help a person sleep more sound throughout the night. Adaptive equipment such as plate guards, bowls and plates with suction cup bases, weighted utensils, and swivel spoons can make meal times more enjoyable and help with mealtime tremors. So, a person with Parkinson's disease may have trouble eating and feeding themselves, and um, it can also cause problems with wanting to eat in public or wanting to eat by themselves in the first place because they have a hard time being independent. So adaptive equipment will promote independence and make the job easier. Swallowing difficulties also come along as Parkinson's disease progresses. So, and also protein medication interactions also make a difference too. So it's also really important to keep in touch with your health provider and see what they have to say about this. So, you know, blending food or using protein shakes, that type of thing can be helpful. And supplementing foods, but talking to your healthcare provider will help a lot in getting an idea of your game plan and how to help a person with Parkinson's disease. So, takeaway points. So, plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, B vitamins, healthy fats such as omega-3s, keeps the brain in optimal performance. Adjusting an eating plan and staying hydrated can help manage or slow down the progression of neurodegenerative diseases. And a nutritionally balanced diet can help improve overall quality of life by promoting brain health and cognitive function. So, throughout the lifespan, nutrition is extremely important to keep the brain healthy, in order for it to grow and develop and to keep it healthy as we age as well. So, doing what you can now can improve your quality of life down the road and maintain your quality of life as well. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at krwinkle@ksu.edu, as you can see on the screen. Also, if you want to take the post survey for this, see if you've learned anything, we would greatly appreciate it.